Yo, painters! You're back with Toddy and Mitch on the U Spray podcast. So, what we're going to chat about today. Now, obviously, we offer training at the Spray Gun Club, but we do get a lot of guys reaching out or just coming in wanting to start their spray journey, that they haven't done much spraying at all, or they're keen to try it, or they've done a little bit, or their boss wouldn't let them anywhere near a spray gun. They reach out wanting to learn how to use it, but also the right setup for them. Okay, so I'm going to throw it over to Toddy. When it comes to someone new to the spray game that hasn't been spraying, hasn't done much spraying before, how do they know what machine they should get and what kind of setup that they should have? What's important when considering what you're going to get as your first machine?
I guess the main things that are important is to, identify what sort of work you're going to be doing and what the potential is. So, I'm the believer where if it was me, I would get something bigger than I need just in case my business grows or
you can grow into it.
But in general, most machines that are double displacement pumps, so that's most of the trade machines out there that aren't the diaphragm pump, are capable of spraying most products. So one of the things I think is hilarious is you talk to paint shops and they'll say, oh, you shouldn't use roof membrane through machines because it'll just destroy your pump. And it's like, maybe not. I would argue it's actually probably one of the nicer things to put through your machine because it's so well refined. It's like butter. But there's definitely some science behind using the right size machine for the right product. So I guess if it was me and I was trying to sell someone, I'd say, look, what are you spraying? Oh, I spray the audit house here, this, that, whatever. Do you spray your roofs? Maybe one a year or whatever. And so it's like from that information, you can kind of determine what to recommend. And so I guess the biggest difference between selling something small versus something big, the conversation is less about what it could do versus how it's going to save you and make you more money. Because plenty of guys use R3 to spray roof membrane. We don't typically sell it to roofers, but it's like occasionally the guy that just wants to spend that much. It'll do it fine. Great.
Yeah.
But the sales pitch is, you're a roofer. Why would you want to use, you already are limited on how many days you have a year to spray because it's only sunny so many days, especially nowadays. It rains all the time.
Yep.
And it's like that pump's going to not last as long because it's smaller versus a bigger pump. So you're going to be in here more regularly getting it rebuilt. And so that costs you money because you're already short on days that it works. So imagine getting to a job site, one of the 10 days of sun, you get a month.
Yep.
And now your machine's got to go down. So it's like for me, the sales pitch is less about what the machine can do because they can all do essentially the same thing when it comes to our industry. So we're just they all spray paint, primer, sealer, and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And so it's a case of, bro, what's it cost you every time you get your gun serviced? Man, I took it into here the other day. It's $1,000 every time. It's like, how many times a year do that? Maybe 2. It's like, well, what if we can reduce that to 1? So, fuck you, how good's that?
We'll have to do one every 2 years.
Yeah. And, that would save me. Not only is it going to save me the $1,000, but it's going to save me all the time it cost me not spraying that day. That's what this is what no one talks about. And so, but when you frame it that way, it's like, bro, you can be down once a year, you can be down once every 2 years.
Yep.
Oh, good. And so, as a roofer, that's extremely valuable because that's all they do, and you have limited days you can actually spray. And so it's a pretty easy upsell in that scenario. But on the flip side, bro, I spray once a month and I get one roof a year. It's like, dude, you don't need a 7 in our case. You don't need a big gun, because a small gun will do it. The two main reasons why I typically wouldn't recommend guys doing it all the time is because it does have to work a bit harder. And what you'll find, this is very common on a Greco machine, where you'll be spraying and spraying and spraying and spraying, and then all of a sudden you're losing pressure and you run down and it's piston out the side. The seal's gone. And so what typically happens in that scenario, two causes. One is it's a thicker product, so it's got to work harder. But a lot of guys just crank it to 11, and it's spraying. It's going to actually rattle that loose. And that causes that. And so it's like, if you can avoid that, by not using a small machine, then you would. But it'll definitely do it. So I guess from our point of view, what matters is how often you're spraying, because if you're spraying a lot, that means you're going to have way more maintenance.
Yep.
And so you want to be protected from that. One of the reasons why we're, doing so well is because we offer 2 years free repairs on machines. So if your pump does go, you're already going to save that $1,000. Also, when you come in, we can educate you on stuff like, what pressure are you using? Oh, dude, we just crank it to 3,000. It's like, dude, no, get it down to 2,000 max.
Yep.
Go over 2,000.
Yep.
And if you feel like you have to because you're getting tails or whatever, that means your tip's too small. So you educate them on this, and then it's like straight away, they're already going to be better off and not coming in more regularly anyway. So, I think that's the main things. There's a lot of things around tips, choosing the right tip. A lot of guys don't use the right tip.
So just on those machines, sorry, just to clarify on that. So when you're going up in machines, right?
Yeah.
So the most important things to consider is obviously bigger pumps, bigger motors, all those kind of things. So that is, you should understand that, because when, I kind of explain it, that what you were saying about the SGC3 and can it spray roof membrane? Yes. Can a Mitsubishi Lancer pull a big caravan or a trailer? Yes. Yes, it could, but it's not going to, end well eventually. So it's understanding that you can use a little machine. Your machine's going to be working harder. Pump's going to go quicker. Can lead into problems down the track. The bigger machine you go, it's designed to have a lot more paint through it. So that's important to consider. When doing that. And then outside of that, you're about to go into tips.
Well, just to go back on that, it is important to understand that, because there's certain things that will make a big difference. So, for example, Greco 395 versus a Greco 495. What's the difference? Really, the motor is a little bit bigger, but the main difference is it's a brushless motor versus the brush motor, which means there's no maintenance required on it. So that's one of the, I guess, call upsells from a 395 to a 3, is our 3s are actually brushless motors, which one is way more efficient and actually becomes no longer a wear part because it doesn't have brushes. But 2, they're substantially lighter. So if you're someone who has to carry a machine in over gravel or whatever, it's lighter, so it's actually better on the body. So those are main things. So like me personally, I would never buy a brushed machine because the brushes go, it's not covered under warranty.
It's light, but I mean, unless you have an SF21, then every machine's light. Probably a 1095 light compared to that thing.
It's like, that's important. That's something that would matter to someone if explained to them. It's like if you knew that your 495 is lighter than your 395, that might be worth it to you to spend an extra $1,000.
Yep.
So that's important.
What about with the machines? And we can go into this. When it comes to machines, we get a lot of Mitsubishi Lancers coming in 3.20s, right? People use them to spray roof membrane, and they say, I went in there, said to the guy, I can spray roof membrane. Now, I think we've touched on this story at the moment, but people will say, it can, but it's always in the shop. Now, can you go into a bit more detail about, and why I want to go here is talk about the flow rates, right? And why is flow rate important when you're considering buying a machine? We've spoken about different machine sizes, pump sizes, all that, but why is flow rate important?
So first off, just so everybody knows, the first thing people always ask us is, what's the max pressure this machine can do? They always ask that. It's like 3,000. Oh, basically all piston pumps will run at 3,000, 3,300, like basically the same. So I mean, like pressure means nothing because they all do the same thing. What matters is the flow rate. Same thing with pressure washers, is how quickly you can actually deliver the product to the gun. Why that's important is because depending on how quickly it can actually make it to the gun will determine how thick of a product it can spray. You know, so that's probably the one variable you'd have, because in some cases guys want to spray roof membrane that's really thick. And particular products will struggle to draw that up. So to go back to what you're saying about the 3.20, do you want me to tell the whole story, or do you want me to just?
Let's go.
Okay, so personal experience. So, and this is kind of what got me thinking from the start, because when I was working for Wagner, it was really hard to get any sort of information because most people don't really know. From a technical perspective, it was always like, go to a service center, take them to a service center, send them to a service center. To me, that was always bad service, because it was like, I convinced this guy to buy this machine, he's having the drama, I don't know how to fix it, it's super technical, which I later learned was, they're not that hard. It's actually really easy. But anyways, so this particular scenario, I remember we used to sell a lot of these ProSpray 3.20s, or in the US they call them Titan 400s, I think. But anyways, they're really small, entry-level machine, great because they're really light.
Pain in the ass to repair.
Yeah, sucked. But you know, hopefully don't have to repair them. But they're really light. That's probably the biggest benefit. But I remember, I don't know why I remember this, because they were 1.6 liters a minute, which they were actually rated. I don't know why I remember that, but I was reminded because later on they actually swapped suppliers. They went from being made in the U.S. to being made in China. And when the new documentation came out, it said it was 1.8 liters a minute. So I remember ringing head office saying, "Hey, what's the go with this?" We had some updates, new circuit board, blah blah. That's why. Makes sense to me. All good. Years later, I go working for Dulux, and they offered us a new deal because they had another change or whatever, but they supplied us the information, and the information says it's 2 liters a minute now. I'm like, that's wild. That's a pretty big jump. Same thing. Ring head office. What's the go with this? Oh, it's upgrades, whatever. Fine, that makes perfect sense to me. Whatever. Never thought anything of it. I should have thought of something, but never thought anything of it. Anyways, for some reason, we ordered a heap. You know, I did really well to try and support Wagner. You know, because I'm ex-Wagner when I was at Dulux. Anyways, the spray gods put me in the shop when the machines arrived for some reason. I'm never there, but this one time I'm there. I'm unloading them, and in big bright yellow letters it says 1.61 liters a minute. And I was like, that is weird. So I rang them. Bloody Chinese. It must have been a typo. I'm like, something's not right here. So from that point on, because I didn't really, I'm a pretty good salesman, but at that point on, I never sold another 3.20 because I didn't feel like it was actually right. Something wasn't right. So just if someone wanted that size of machine, I'd always push them to a Graco 190, because I don't even know if that's accurate or not, but I definitely didn't feel like, I was being misled. Anyways, so I remember we had service center training. So we were hiring all these techs for all the new service centers about to open, and we're having Wagner training. And I remember they're like, "Anybody have any questions?" I got a question for the big dogs. It's like, what is the flow rate of a ProSpray 3.20? 2 liters a minute. I was like, man, that just doesn't sound right to me. And I don't know, I'm weird. I've had a lot of experiences in my career where I feel like I don't know, and so I go out of my way to find out. This is one of those. So I was like, I'm going to make it my mission to figure out what the actual flow rate is, because that makes me better as a salesman. Plus, I procured stock, so it gives me some leverage when I'm doing that. Anyway, so I spent that whole next weekend, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, I just started researching this stuff. One of the things I found, which was funny, was the global standard for measuring flow rate is at 12 megapascal units, 12 MPa, which is roughly 2,000 psi. It's like 1,700 or something. So basically, everything's measured at that, and that's how you determine what the flow rate is. So if it can spray at 12 megapascal units and maintain pressure, that means it's capable of doing it. So my thought was, I'm going to actually go buy me a hydraulic, they call it a hydraulic reader. You can connect it to the gun, set it to pressure, and it'll measure it for you. So I was like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to do this to all the machines, all the Gracos, all the Wagners, just to determine that. Anyway, so I started working out some data so I can get my story straight. Anyways, I went to the Wagner website, and you can go look this up. It's hilarious. And I started going through the machines because I'm going to pull the manual out, see what it says it is, and I'm going to measure it. So I pulled the first one I wanted to know was a 3.20, pulled it out, opened it up. It says in the manual, maximum flow rate, 2 liters a minute. But just below it, it says maximum flow rate at 12 MPa, 1.61 liters a minute. I was like, this is a marketing tactic to promote this at 2 liters a minute so I can sell it for 2 liters a minute. There's a price point attached to that. And the reason why I know that is because I was like, we'll go to the next one. You go to the next one, ProSpray 3.21 doesn't have that. It just has at 12 MPa, 3.23 at 12 MPa. There's no max flow. So they've obviously inputted that on the 3.20 to buffer it up. Whatever, do what you want to do, I don't care. But the reason why that's a problem is because someone's going to go in there to spray roof membrane. Now, it will definitely spray roof membrane, but the Australian standard typically for spraying roof membrane is you got to use a 21 thou tip. So to spray a 21 thou tip, it needs to be 1.71 liters a minute. So if the machine's only capable of 1.61 liters a minute, it's actually misleading. And so it's like someone would buy that, go out, try to spray roof membrane with a 21 thou tip, and they'll fail. It won't work. So it's like that to me is a stitch up because it's, someone, obviously I would never sell it to someone to spray roof. But I've seen people do that from when I was at Wagner days. Like stores would sell it and they'd have dramas, well, you obviously did something wrong. At the time, I didn't know. I was like,
Well, Toddy, that's not actually a problem because I actually ended up using a 517 tip and I sprayed the roof and it worked fine.
Yeah.
So what's the problem with that?
So then you have issues with film thickness. But just to finish off on that, I remember everyone knows me as go buy a diaphragm pump. Buy a diaphragm pump. Yo, painters, buy a diaphragm pump. I had this huge thing about that. We sold heaps, bro. Anyways, and I started thinking about it. I was like, hang on, that come out after the 3.20 come out. I wonder. Pulled it out. Same thing. Max flow, 2.61 liters a minute, which would put it in the same category as a 595 Graco or 3.25. But just underneath, max pressure at 12 MPa, 2.3, which now drops it down to a 495 equivalent or a 3.23 equivalent. And so then the next one, I was like, man, all these new machines, the SF33, all these machines, you haven't looked, same thing. And I was just like, okay, yeah, so this is actually a stitch up. But to go back to what you were saying, is now you have the same scenario with tips. I love talking about this stuff because I only know this stuff because I'm weird. Tips.
Agreed.
So you're just saying about, can you spray it with a 517? Absolutely, perfectly fine. But what people don't realize is that external paints, roof membranes, or weather shield, solar guard, all those guys, they all cover really well. So if you use a really small tip, it will actually probably cover really well in 2 coats. But what you'll find is a 517 delivers 1.17 liters a minute. A 621 or 521 delivers 1.7 liters a minute. So it's almost half a liter more product coming out.
Yep.
So you're actually sacrificing film thickness. So you could technically do it, but you'd have to do 50%. Either go 50% slower or do 50% more coats. So if it's a 2-coat system, that means you got to do 3 coats to actually achieve the same thing. To be able to achieve the specs so that if there's a warranty claim, you're protected. No one's rushing out to tell people this. And a perfect example, as I see this all the time, Graco come out with these wide rack low pressure tips not too long ago. So what happens is guys go, I'm using a 621. I want to use a wide rack tip. Great. Perfect. They're awesome, first of all. So they'll ring up the paint manufacturer, the rep. Bro, I've been using a 621. Can I use a 1221? Absolutely. It's a 21 thou tip. It'll spray. It's true. But what they don't educate people on, I think it's mainly because they don't really know. But what they don't educate people on is that a 1221 will be roughly half as thick as a 621. And so, yes, it'll spray it. The guys will do the right thing. They'll do 2 coats, and then it'll fade because 2 coats is actually 1 coat. And then they'll be queried by the paint manufacturer. Did you put 2 coats on it? Absolutely.
Because the same amount of paint is allowed out of the tip, but it's double the size in the fan, so it's spread half as thin.
Yeah. So just an easy way to explain that. If you got a 21 tip that's this thick and this wide, a 121 would be the exact opposite. It'd be this thick and this wide. Does that make sense? So it's like the same amount of paint, instead of being spread over here, it's actually condensed into here. So that's what's happening. They're taking the 6 and they're spreading it. So now you're not getting as much coverage. And so that's setting people up as well. Now, I don't think they're actively doing that on purpose, but it's like the lack of knowledge is setting painters up for not being aware of that. And as we all know, when it comes to manufacturers or it comes to warranties, it's typically the applicator's warranty that matters. And there's a scenario there where, without knowing that, you're potentially being set up to, you know, be stitched up later down the track.
Well, what makes me think about that is like guys that have, you know, done balustrading or like picket fences on decks and stuff like that, where they want to do fine finish, use, you know, do a nice fine finish on it, and they're used to spraying with a 410, like they do their doors and trims, or maybe it's a 310 that they use. But they're like, yeah, I've got some balustrading, I want a smaller fan, so they go to a 210, right? And they're like, what am I doing wrong? There's fucking runs all over my balustrading on this fence. What the hell? And what they actually don't realise is you've still got the same amount of paint, but you've actually got a smaller area all that paint's coming out from. So instead of dropping down from a 410 to a smaller fan, you want less paint coming out. So you want to go from a 410 to like a 208, which a lot of guys don't know. They go, you know, up and down. They don't change that second number to reduce the flow of paint. So yeah, that's where people get stuck. But they're just basic things that you think that people would be taught, and they should know that. But they don't, and that's when it comes into having those bad experiences. You know, everyone has it, whether it's overspray, whether it's runs and stuff like that. Like I know everyone's experienced runs and fucking having to send them out. It is the worst. It is, you know, and it's frustrating because you can't work out why one thing works and, you know, something else doesn't. So yeah, it's interesting. And when we're talking about tips as well, like the recommendation about a 21 thou tip when it comes to roof membrane, the thing that's interesting about that is, yes, it's technically right, but if you and I are both doing a roof and I move a lot slower than you do on the roof, like the big dog doesn't move that quick on roofs, but you'd be cat and a hot tin roof moving across it, is if we're both using a 521 tip, say for example, I'm probably using half a drum to a drum more than you because I'm moving slower. So even though the recommendation is a 521 tip, I'd probably be better off using a 519, and I would still get the right film thickness as you, because I'm moving slower. And I think this is, you know, my experience when I would spray insides, when I'd use, you know, a 619, maybe 519, depending what I was doing. If it was a big space, I like to move when I'm spraying. And then you'd get someone like one of the apprentices or someone that hadn't done much spraying, you'd give them the same tip and you'd be like, far out, they've gone through some paint. How did they go through that much paint? And what you don't realise is they're working a lot slower, but the same amount of paint is coming out when you're spraying. So they're using way more paint. So how to counteract that is, you know, dropping them down to like a 515 or a 517 or something like that, because they're moving so slow. So they're using the same amount of paint as I am. But yeah, and that's stuff that people don't think about. And I've heard roofers say that when they've gone, oh mate, I'll let the apprentice do the roof. Mate, you went 2-3 drums over. I'm just like, well, what size tips are you using? Oh mate, mate, the same one I use, the 523. And I'm like, mate, if he's hardly sprayed before, he's just caking it on, mate. You can give a 40-year warranty on that roof. So yeah.
It's that's another thing too, is one of the common things I hear all the time is, I like to get the pressure down so I can go a bit slower. And what's crazy is the lower the pressure goes, the more product comes out.
Yep.
So you're actually having the reverse effect. So it's like, nobody knows that, but you can see it on your tap at home. You turn the outside tap on, it's like blazing out, and it takes forever to fill a bucket, but you turn it down.
Yep.
And it's it can flow out a lot quicker. Yeah. So it's same thing applies. So you're actually having the reverse effect. So if you want to go slower, keep the pressure up, but go to a smaller tip.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing, right, with guys that spray at like 2,000, they want to go faster. With a 517, they don't change the tip. They just crank the machine up to 3,000, and your machine's working overtime. You're increasing the overspray and stuff like that. And what a common rule is for us guys, if you need to go faster, and you shouldn't spray more than 2,000 in most instances, unless you're doing fine finish work and you want to get that pressure right up. But 2,000 is what you should be spraying at. So if you want to go faster, change your tip. Yeah. Right? Don't turn the machine up, because you're making it work harder. The pump's working harder. It's going to wear quicker. If you need to spray more than 2,000 PSI, then you've got the wrong tip. Change your tip. Okay. And as a general rule, if that first number is going up, the fan size, then the second number with the flow rate needs to go up as well. And that's a good base to be at. But that's another episode in the bag from Toddy and Mitch. Hope you having a good week, and until next time, stay spraying.